Hey, welcome back to The Broker's Voice. This week, I am super excited because I get to have on a team of producers, a team of two who have taken social media to the next level and are utilizing it now to help them create opportunities with prospects. In fact, to help them bring prospects to them. Wouldn't that sound nice? But before I get there, I do want to make a quick announcement for our sponsor of The Broker's Voice, the one and the only, I'm pointing at my hat, Agency Annex. Listen, having a good website for your insurance agency is important. A good website can hurt you. A bad website can good website can help you, excuse me. A bad website can equally hurt you. And so your website today has to speak to your target audience. It is no longer a place for you to talk all about yourself because nobody cares. You have to make it all about the prospect, talk to the prospect, and your website will become that extra salesperson for you. If you want to build, if you want to tweak, or you just want to completely overhaul your website, do yourself a favor, connect with Steve Conca and his guys over at Agency Annex. They built my website, couldn't be happier, and they will build a beautiful website for you. All right, now let's dive into the Broker's Voice today. I am going to bring on my guys, Chris Boling and Chris Beyer. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. Good to see you.
Awesome. We got Chris Boling, Chris Beyer with Assured Partners out of, let's call it the Western Illinois Quad Cities area. I'm excited for this interview, guys, because you guys have taken a very unique approach to branding and how you're using branding in the insurance world. But before we even get into that conversation, I want you two to just each take a minute. Chris Boling, I'm going to start with you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe why did you get in the insurance industry, or how did you get in the insurance industry?
Gosh, okay, I have to do this in a minute. Basically, my entire family, uncle, cousins, sister, brother-in-law, we were all in insurance. So I was destined to be in insurance, including my mother and father. So it was just default. That's where I was going to go.
You know, it's funny you say, it's interesting because I always ask the question thinking I'm going to get like some really cool story. And then somebody's like, well, I actually went to college to get a degree in risk management. I'm like, really?
It happens. Yes.
Yeah.
Chris Beyer, how about you? How did you get in this industry?
I have a family sales background with my dad and my grandpa, but I went to college and just needed an internship. So I was able to intern with an agency in my local market. So I, started right out of college in that sales role and then have gravitated to the advisor role now the last five and a half years.
That's awesome. And you guys are both in the benefit space.
That's right.
And I'm watching you guys on social media right now. It's been fun to watch because I want you to, and maybe Chris Beyer answer this question. Take us back to like June of last year.
Yeah.
What was your viewpoint of social media and how you could use it to grow your business at that time?
It was something that I was not comfortable with. I wasn't really familiar with. If I were to share something on social media, it was probably an industry update or an agency update. I just looked at it as a way to broadcast information. And, coming into the summer of 2020, Andy, as we talked a lot about it, we were all trying to figure out what it meant to be in virtual meetings, how we were going to connect with prospects without being able to drive and see them. And we're in a very rural market. So, we did a lot of in-person stops and we did a lot of in-person meetings, and it just felt like we were missing opportunities to connect with these prospects that were making decisions, but we weren't a part of it because we weren't in their space physically like we used to be. So I just looked at it as, social media was something that somebody else did in a bigger market.
Got it. That's a really good point. Chris Bola, how about you? What was, 9-10 months ago, what was your viewpoint of social media?
Let's see. I created my Facebook page, my LinkedIn page in 2010 and hadn't touched it since that day.
That's true.
My Facebook had a photo that was over 20 years old. I think it still is 20 years old, but I just felt that social media had no place in the benefit advisory business. I was like, that's for millennials. That's not for us. So
this is why I'm excited to have this conversation because here we are on March. We're doing this interview on March 15th, 2021. Yep. And I think you two could agree your perspectives have completely changed. Chris Beyer, want to ask you this. You said, we're in a rural market. Chris Boling, you're in the Quad Cities. You say, okay, that's this bit of a city, metropolitan area. But Chris Beyer, you're in Galesburg, Illinois.
Yeah.
Population 35,000 people.
Yeah.
Where it's easy to make the excuse, not in our market. Social media doesn't work here. What would you say to that?
I would say that was my thought before. It was, we did a lot of sponsoring in the community. We're still involved in the community, but again, all of that stopped last year. And we said, well, how are we going to be in that marketplace if we can't physically be there? And, now I look at it and see the engagement we're getting from, our CB squared posts are all over the country, but I'm seeing those local businesses connect and look at it too. So it's not just, international or coast to coast. It's truly in our local market. We're seeing it happen.
Yeah. Chris Boling, you said the CB square thing, Chris, and I love it because it's created such a recognizable brand for you two, even down to the logo. Chris Boling, if you could share, talk about your logo and the whole concept behind it, because I think it's genius.
Well, and we really can't take credit for it.
No.
I was always just known as CB in the office, and then when Chris Beyer came along, it was now it's CB squared, because we're both 6 foot something. We both wear glasses. We both played sports. All through college. So it really happened in our office. They just literally called us CB squared, and we're like, hey, you know what? Let's just go with it.
Yeah.
So again, Andy, I'd like to say, gosh, we were brilliant. We went through this, half day, event, really think of the right brand. We're like, you know what? They call us CB squared. So let's just go with it.
And if I could describe your logo here in video form, you've got the C and the B, and if those who've seen it, the B, it looks like a pair of glasses. Because I think it's brilliant how you guys have built that branding, and really the most important thing out of it, though, outside of the logo and the branding and so forth, is how you guys have started showing up consistently on social media, mainly LinkedIn, because it's the business to business platform.
Right.
For either one of you. I mean, think about when you really got started, saying, okay, now we understand we need to be here. We need to be posting. If somebody's sitting there right now in that same spot where they don't think it's a waste of time, but they're stuck, they're like, okay, I know I need to do something. Where the heck do I even begin? What advice would you give that advisor right now?
Before Chris answers that, because he's going to be better at answering that than me, my big eye-opening experience was when we went through our coaching session with you, Andy, and you said, do you realize when you call a prospect, they're going to look you up before they ever talk to you?
Yeah.
And we're like, what do you mean look us up? You're like, yeah, Chris, that thing called social media, they're going to see how relevant you are in today's environment. And I was not relevant at all. So that's I think why, well, not think, that's exactly why Chris and I made this decision that we're going to devote time, we're going to devote resources, and we're going to get out there.
Chris, if that's the case, you weren't relevant for 10 years.
No, not at all.
Because your LinkedIn profile was 10 years old. Chris Beyer, what about you? Again, think of that insurance advisor is sitting there going, okay, I need to do something here. What advice would you give them?
Well, just start with a certain day and be consistent with it. Before Chris and I started doing things together and have really branched out into multiple days, I was just trying to put something up every Monday that I felt fit with what we do for our clients. And that was the piece of it. You asked that question about the logo. It's the glasses because we're advisors. We're giving wisdom. We're giving insight. We're trying to find ways to make those companies better, make our clients improve. It's all tied into that. So I started with just one day a week, putting something up there and just being consistent with that every single week. And that was hard. I'd love to say that, we're doing this all on our own. We've got, some help behind the scenes to do so. But initially, just with that advisor that's thinking about it, just pick a day and put something out there. Just start building that, and then connect with people too. Engage with people and connect with your target prospects, those that are in your market that you want to talk to, because they're gonna have that ability to see what you're putting out there, and then you start to build that dialogue online that you can hopefully take off at some point.
And you said something I want to hit home and want everybody watching this to take home with them is, one, just get started. Don't worry about quality.
Right.
And I think so many get stuck on, they want this thing to be perfect. But the other thing is outsourcing is very easy to do these days.
It is.
I see agencies spend $20,000 on a cold calling service.
Yeah.
Take a quarter of that and go spend it on somebody who can actually edit your videos or edit your content and create the content for you so that you just have to post it. And that to me is money as well spent today as hiring somebody to do cold calling for you. And I think that's where our industry has to make that shift. Now, with that being said, looking at where you guys are today and the content you're putting out. This could be for both of you one at a time. The content you're creating today on social media, and this is okay to brag. It's your chance to brag. How do you think it differs from the typical insurance advisor content we're seeing out on LinkedIn these days?
I'll take a stab at that. It is rough. It's not super polished. We're just being ourselves. And that's another, I guess, positive fallout of the last 12 months is that we don't have to have a suit and tie on every day and be on our game in this image. We can be us. We can be quirky and goofy and have some fun with it. And then number two, we're not trying to talk about our agency brand. As proud as we are to be a part of Assured Partners, our clients want to know us and trust us and know that we've got a team behind us. So it's very little about our agency and our resources and how big we are, or how many clients we have. That doesn't really matter. It's
right.
Here's what we're doing that's working for clients. And if you're trying to improve, we want to be the ones to help you. So I think those are two two things that would differ from
Chris Boling. You have anything to add to that?
We're just getting started. I mean, we've been at this for 3 months, and where we're headed is very exciting. And I think that's the challenge of our industry is it's so easy to get burnt out. We're stuck in the renewal cycles, or we're just stuck in the sales cycle. And to me, Andy, this has been something I look forward to every week. And, brainstorming where this is going to go, I can't wait, because we're going to do some neat things.
Yeah.
Once our country opens up, it's going to give us a lot more opportunity to get, behind the screen and these banners and actually get outdoors and do something fun with it.
I like why you said that, because Chris Beyer, you even said, we're not out promoting Assured Partners. And I think the big difference when I observe your content is you speak right to the prospect. You're not in it for the likes. You're not in it for the comments. You're not in it to get comments from your industry peers and industry buddies. Right. You're just there to speak to your target prospect. And guess what happens when you do that? You don't get many likes. You don't get many comments, but guess who is always watching? With that being said, one of you, please share the story of how the CFO in a recent prospecting meeting introduced you guys to his team. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
I mean, it's happened more than once, and I'm going to say that was a Tuesday meeting, and I think the Monday before was our first CB Squared debut, so we hadn't even spoken to this team other than have the meeting scheduled. This was actually in person. It was that new experience, but we walked in, we said hello, Chris, and the CFO said, if you guys haven't followed these guys, these are CB Squared. You'll see them on LinkedIn. They're putting all kinds of stuff out there, and we hadn't talked about that yet, and it kind of hit home that, okay, people are watching this, because, I knew who that CFO was, but I didn't know that they were paying attention. I didn't know that they were following it. It just happened to be. So, and since then, Chris, we've had, 7, 8 different instances of that in our different meetings.
That's it right there. Because I think the snippet you miss when you say it's cool to hear that story. It's cool to have a CFO say, "Hey, these are the CB Square guys." But what you don't actually realize is that is instant credibility.
Yeah.
So for the rest of the people in that boardroom or that Zoom call, however you took that meeting, that's instant credibility when the CFO literally says, "Here's CB Squared."
Right.
Whether you've been in the insurance industry 20 years or 6 months, right there, the rest of that team goes, "Holy crap, these guys must be good."
Well, and it's so important because Chris and I, again, like most advisors, try to figure out how do we keep prospecting and stay connected with those employers that are out there. I won't give you the number because we hate continuing to count this, but there were several employers that changed benefit advisors in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic because something wasn't working. We were either late to the game or we had talked to them before and we just didn't have a way to stay in front of them because we couldn't catch them by phone or by email, whatever it might be. And they made a change without us being included, not even considered. And it was a wake-up call for us that there has to be another way to build that credibility, like you said. So when they think of making a change, they already have a flavor for who we are and what we're doing for clients. Right. And if that keeps us from adding one more to the list of employers that change and they decide to engage with us, this is going to be a win just in that first, 3 months.
Well, and Chris, I say this in my keynotes often, we're not that far removed from the day No, I shouldn't say remove. It's not far from the day when our prospects can literally go, and I'm going to turn her on when I say this. Hey, Alexa, find me a health insurance broker.
Yep.
And the question is, who's she going to say?
Yeah.
In your case right now, you keep this up, she's going to go, well, in your market, you want to talk to CB Squared.
Yeah.
Because that is top of mind. And
Yes.
so many advisors right now are hiding in the weeds doing nothing. And they wonder why their prospects aren't reaching out to them, why they can't connect, because no one knows you exist.
Yeah.
Right.
And so let's finish up here. 2 more questions. Both of you can chime in on this one. As we look at the industry moving forward, how and where do you see social media playing a role in insurance producers growing their business?
I just go back to what you said, Andy. It's not how it's going to change. We can't expect a prospect to receive a call from us and immediately want to set an appointment without them looking at you first.
Yeah.
And I've always said they buy us, not this banner. Yes, this is important, but they're buying you more than anything. So, it's no different than what I tell my kids. Be careful what you post out there because, your future employer is going to look at your social media. Well, I have to look at it the same way. Our future clients are going to look at us and they want to know really who we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you, Mr. Buyer?
I would agree with that, and just add to it that you can look up reviews for everything that you would ever want to purchase. You can get a feel for what other people's experience has been for that item or that trip or that hotel, to be able to share our insight and just, again, provide that prospective client a flavor for how we work to make sure that we're a good fit. We want them to be able to see that reality before we actually meet, and that there's some comfort level that maybe these guys are who we need, and maybe they aren't. We don't know, but at least they will know who we are and have that experience before we sit down or meet virtually.
Awesome. Well, last question, guys, before we wrap this up. If there's somebody watching that wants to connect with you, they can connect with you on LinkedIn. They can see how to spell your name so they can connect with you. What are some other very effective ways to get in touch with you if they want to maybe ask some questions about your social media, or, hey, maybe an association out there wants to hire the CB Squared to get their butts on stage? How can people get in touch with you guys?
So I would start with our LinkedIn pages. That'd be probably just as easy. We've also, each of us have an Instagram business page. We're working on the website, so there's opportunity there. But right now, I would start with that LinkedIn message and connect, and be happy to engage.
Awesome. Well, guys, I appreciate this. This was fun.
Thank you, Andy.
You guys I'm proud of you guys, watching you guys, see how consistently you're showing up right now. And for those watching, this is a game of patience and consistency. And these two right now are showing up every day on social media. They're using it to their advantage. And if you're in their market, I hate to tell you, they're the ones who are going to be top of mind if you're not leveraging social media right now. So you know what happens, guys, when clarity and confidence collide, action happens. Go make it happen today.